All right, welcome back. We are here with Sam Daniels and Matt Messmer from the Fortify Group once again, and we are going to cover 4 or 5 questions and concerns that are going to be able to give you some information to digest on the state of the market. It could help you as a buyer. It could help you as a agent across the board. We're just here to bring that information, and thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
You bet. So what I wanted to talk about first is Florida inventory. We hear market up, market down, all the stuff that the media is putting out there. But the Florida inventory itself, right? It appears to me as if I was the general public, right, that inventory is out of control, right? Because of all the building and all the stuff. But there's a difference between resale and new construction. So I just want you all's take, what's the distinction that tells us the truth about the health and direction of the inventory in the state of Florida right now?
Well, if you look at the data, single family homes, there's only about 150,000. If you take everything in consideration, condos, townhomes, etc., there's roughly 300,000 homes in the state of Florida for sale. If you take new construction out of that total, new construction is almost 50,000 new construction homes in the state. So you get about 16% of new construction consuming that inventory. If you dissect that down to Polk County has roughly 8,500 homes for sale, and 2,500 of those are roughly new construction. So it's a much higher amount of new construction.
Right.
It's 28% roughly of our current inventory in Polk County is new construction.
Wow.
So to me, yes, it may look like there's a lot of homes for sale, but when you remove that one segment of new construction, there's not a lot of resales that are out there.
Yeah, not a lot of unique properties out there that are different. You still have that as a seller. I think you still are getting top dollar. Now, the ones that have the cookie cutter neighborhoods, you're still competing with new construction still, and that's an issue for that.
So as an agent, is there a strategy, right? And I'm asking this to you because you guys lead 65 or so agents. As an agent, how should they approach that? Like, what does that look like? And what kind of information can they pass along to their customers on, look, that's a great way to explain it the way you just explained it. Do most agents know that? And do they communicate that to the clients out there? And what does that mean for the client that's ready to sell?
Well, and again, it's a case by case basis, right? So the biggest disconnect I think that certain agents have when they're going to a listing appointment is getting to the actual real root cause of why the person's selling, right? Like we always just have in our mind that if I'm listing the house, if I'm going to win this listing, I need to sell it for the utmost dollar because that's what the client wants. And that's not necessarily always the factor.
Correct. So in other words, a lot of the agents I see out there is they're not asking the right questions to find out what the right problem to solve is. Right. So when you're helping a customer, money follows the problem solved. If you don't know what the problem is, you may be trying to solve the wrong problem. So it not as always people go into listings thinking that, I just got to price it the highest and I'll get the listing. It might be they got to get out of town because they've got new jobs waiting on them, or they may need to relocate because of health, or maybe there's a divorce involved. So there's a lot of stuff that as an agent you can find that has nothing to do with how much inventory is on the market and what the price of the house that you're trying to list. And that's kind of a great point that encapsulates also when you do get the opportunity to list after you've solved the problem is to price it right and how to compete with that new construction.
Yeah. And it's being upfront too, like having those maybe uncomfortable conversations on the front end. Now, yes, it may not land you the listing, but at the end of the day, I don't want to list a home that I know I can't sell because there's unrealistic expectation to begin with.
Which also, after you've had that initial meeting and you did not secure that listing, doesn't mean that relationship is done.
Absolutely.
Because if the other agent gets it and screws the pooch, as they say, and doesn't sell the property, that's another chance to go back 90 days from now going, oh, wow, I see your home's still on the market. What's going on? I hope everything's okay, whatever. Now, talking new construction, what we've got to work with the agents, and I'm interested to see what you guys have to say, with the builders contributing so many incentives, right, to the inventory, and often the incentives are big. How does that affect the resale market? As me, if I'm in a established neighborhood, not new construction, I want to sell my home. How does the new home inventory and incentives affect me? Or does it?
as the seller,
as a seller.
as a seller, it affects you a lot. It depends on how long you had the house. So again, you're a buyer originally with us. We would talk to you about these are great opportunities for first time home buyers.
Mm-hmm.
They're paying all these closing costs.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're someone that's looking like you're not going to be here for more than 2 years, that might not be the best fit because you're not getting equity. So it depends on where you're at as the seller. That have you owned the house for 5 years? If that's the case, you have that equity. You can compete with them, and to compete with the new construction, you might have to be a little less and just give a little incentives there on top of like they are. But they're getting the house as well market is. It's a pre-existing home that already has the new fence, all the blinds, all the updates that come with it. That a new construction is just bare bones, no fence, no garage door opener,
Right.
any of that, no screened-in porch. But you have it for the same price, and we'll give you some closing cost coverage too. But if you're relatively new, 1 to 2 years of owning it, we might have to have the hard conversation of you might not get anything, or you might have to bring some money to the table. Depends on where you need to be. If you need to leave, you got to leave.
Right. Well, I see. So that's interesting that you say that, because with so many agents in the market right now, a lot of them, a majority of them being inexperienced. How many do you think are actually having those kind of conversations with people?
Well, I think that's problem number one, right? A lot of newer agents in their mind, I need to land these listings. I just got to land the listing. But it's the wrong thought process, because yes, landing a listing is great, but if you can't move the listing, now you're putting time, effort, and money into something that's not bringing you a return on your investment.
Correct.
So it's, again, looking at your business as an actual real business plan. If I'm putting time, money, and energy into something, what am I getting in return?
Right. Well, that's where knowing your numbers, right? So we talk about here at Keller Williams, we talk about building a business, a thriving business, which means knowing your profit and loss, knowing your marketing, knowing your net, knowing what to spend and how to spend it, and knowing your personal numbers. So for me personally, and I'm sure you guys did the same thing, is my days on market, right? My average days on market were 58 days. I remember that when I was an active agent. I would look at my competition, didn't know who they were at the time, but I would bring the list with me and go, and look, their average time on market's 93 days.
Yeah.
So how many mortgage payments do you want to make, Mr. Customer, while your home is for sale?
Yeah.
Because you're going to make one with me.
And it's discussing those carrying costs.
Right. And so knowing your numbers and knowing how, so it's not always about price. So now your new sale inventory and your new sale incentives are irrelevant, right? And that's the cool thing about what you guys do is you elevate your agents. So going back to that, so how should agents adjust their pricing conversations? Like if you had an agent that was going out on a listing appointment right now, how important on a scale of 1 to 10 is the pricing conversation on the initial listing appointment?
I think it depends on how you set the expectation, right? Like I'll tell people straight up, if you want me to list it for this price, okay, we'll try it, but we're going to do it on a trial period.
Mm-hmm.
Your first 2 weeks on the market is your most
Right.
volatile. So after 10 days, if we have no offers, no showings, no anything,
Right.
that tells us we're overpriced.
Right.
Then we're going to come down to my price and we're going to do that price adjustment accordingly. So it's just setting an expectation, knowing like, I'm willing to work with you.
Sure.
I see your opinion. I value your opinion,
Right.
but I'm the professional here. And I think that's the biggest problem with our industry as a whole, is we're not truly looked at as professionals at times.
Right.
And a lot of that has to do with the quality of agents in our realm.
Correct.
But,
What do you think, Sam?
Just honestly, just be straightforward with them is the biggest thing. Going back to new agents, like Matt was saying, taking all the listings and just accepting them and overpriced, you have all the overhead costs to do that. And I think that's drowning a lot of agents out at the beginning. They can't make any money and it's not doing a good service for themselves or for the client.
it makes them
can't
look
sell-
bad,
Sell the
right?
house. right?
Absolutely.
And now they're upside down and they can't do real estate anymore. They spent thousands of dollars on something that would never work.
Right. So again, I think that's where training, coaching comes in from our rainmakers and our education department is packaging, right? It's almost like a football player or quarterback. It's situational football. If you know what to do going into the play is not so stressful, right? And I think that's something that, we do a really good job. You guys do a really great job of, as there's a difference in that agent going in and getting that listing versus somebody that's not equipped.
In this industry, we are the quarterback,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Which means we get the brunt of the punishment.
Yep.
So whether the situation, no matter what the situation is, you being the quarterback, you get that blame.
Correct.
And knowing on the front end that that's the way that it works, having the expectation of no matter what situation is going to happen, I may get the brunt punishment of this, but I have to have thick skin, let
Right.
it roll off my back and understand that
Right.
even though it may not be my fault, it's still my fault.
Sure. Well, it's all percentages, right?
Yeah.
Baseball, football, whatever you want to say, batting average, right? You're going to go on 10 appointments, you're going to get 3 of those. And you're probably, if you get 4, you're an all-star, right? So if you know that going in, it takes some of the stress off of that. So that being said, one of the things that is kind of a big deal right now and a focal point is the BBA. And we're seeing the exclusive buyer agreement being used in different ways, depending on an opinion. Let me ask you, how should agents adjust their conversations, right? What's a best practice and how are agents misusing? Put it to you that. Where do you think agents are misusing the BBA? And what does a best practice look like for protecting both the customer and the agent? But when you're using those, and explain what a BBA is.
Sam, you want to go first or you want me to?
Yeah, well, I think it's being misused first. The buyer's broker exclusive agreement is blindly. I think a lot of agents are just sending it out to them to sign and just saying, hey, this is just so I can get you in the door as a realtor and we could move forward. And that's a touring agreement, but they explain it like a touring agreement to the EBBA. And then what happens is they get locked in and they don't like their client or agent at all. And the agent's really not doing due diligence. I've seen it where the agent's like, no, you can't get out. There's no way you owe me this. So they strong arm them back into it, even though they're not doing them service. And clients get scared and don't want to go find another agent that can service them right. And they may not even buy in the market anymore at that point, or they end up getting a bad deal and a bad taste in their mouth for the industry, right? Or they get a bad house just because that person's pressuring them into it. I think it just needs to be explained a little more in detail what it really entails up front, or for buyers, they just need to educate them to kind of look through some of these documents and read them like you would do when you're buying a car or talking to an attorney. You're looking through those documents more. So I think we just need to try to educate the public to look over those a little more instead of blindly getting in.
So how does the BBA protect the buyer? What does that do for the buyer? For those of the folks out there that are watching this that are not in real estate, maybe, what does the BBA do for the customer?
It protects them, that we're supposed to have integrity in our profession is to help service them.
Okay.
That's the goal of it, and telling them what we do as an agent, not just to have them sign it so we make sure they pay.
So it creates a relationship.
Like
It's a partnership that you're joining forces with a professional.
Yes.
That'll do
And
on their
your
behalf.
licensed
Right.
professional
Fiduciary,
that is
right, for that representation.
representing you in your best interest through this
Right.
transaction.
Okay.
And it's not being explained properly, not in all essence, but a lot of people are using it, like Sam said, almost like a touring agreement. Hey, I need you to sign this because I can't let you in the door or I'll get fined $500 unless
Right.
you sign this piece of paper. And they're not even explaining what it is.
So then let me ask you this, on the flip side, how does it protect? What does the BBA do for the agent? What's the benefit of the agent getting it signed to begin with?
Essentially, it's putting skin in the game for the buyer, knowing that this person is representing me, because a lot of people too don't even really understand how real estate works. Right. They just assume a lot of times that this house is listed by this individual. That's the individual I need to call to talk to anyway about buying this house because it's their listing. They don't understand that that person has a fiduciary to the seller, not necessarily the buyer at all times. And some states you're not even allowed to do that. I'm a full broker in North Carolina, and you cannot represent both parties in North Carolina.
Right. So the agent having it signed, does it give the agent an out? How does it protect the agent? I assume that it protects the agent from the standpoint of them making sure they get paid once they forge a relationship. So in other words, it ties the two entities together so that that agent and the buyer have a responsibility to each other. Keeps the buyer from bouncing around from agent to agent. Is that correct?
It's a binding agreement amongst the two parties stating that I'm having you sign this, that I'm your licensed professional representing you as a fiduciary, and you're understanding that there is a commission amount involved for that representation.
So when you're an attorney, you are getting a retainer to represent the client. This is basically the same thing without the compensation up front.
And there can be compensation up front if someone wants to choose that, right? That's the glorious thing about all this is me as an agent.
Right.
I can determine if I want to charge an upfront retainer fee or a cancellation fee or whatever that fee is going to be based on my professionalism and the level that I feel that I'm giving to that client.
Gotcha. Okay.
But that can all be discussed and it can be changed
Right.
depending on the agreement.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. We'll move on. That's an interesting topic. So the next topic I want to talk about is private exclusive listings. So there's a company out there that's pushed the conversation around private exclusive listings and marketing a property outside the broader market, right? Before the full public exposure. So in other words, I'm going to list your house, but I'm going to hide it from most of the market for a little while. How do you think that the public is going to react to that? And is it beneficial to the client to have a private exclusive listing to a private audience before it goes out to the mass public? And how are they going to be able to explain that that's a benefit to the customer? So in other words, do you believe this approach creates genuine advantage or disadvantage for sellers out there?
For sellers, right, I think it's a disadvantage, right? But they all have their reasonings for it, right? There may be a seller that need a private exclusive. They don't want it marketed to the public, but they know up front they're probably not going to get the highest and best offer, right? I know a lot of agencies out there, exclusive listings, they just say you list your house for $400,000 and they get it on the private market for $400,000. Great. They said, look, we got you what you said we can get. That's great. But what if you would have put that into the whole world public market and you got 450,000? So they never know if they truly got highest.
Okay. That's
Right?
a good point.
They got it. Yeah, they got it internally and it looks good on numbers for the brokerage and the owners of the company. But overall, did the seller really get the highest and best? We don't know because maybe half the world didn't see the property.
Now, that being said, so when you go on a listing appointment and you're competing against somebody that's going to put them in a private exclusive versus the way we do it, are we prepared to have those conversations as an industry? Because it's kind of a two-party system right now. You've got the parties that are and the companies that are a part of that program, and that's how they're going to have to do it. And then there's like us who we're going to have open market for those. How would you say that we're prepared to have that conversation on how to say, hey, why would you want to do that? Other than saying you're dumb. Don't do that.
Well, again, it's having that conversation up front, setting the expectation, right? Because again, sometimes people don't even understand what they're signing. When they say, oh, I'm going to put this in this exclusive,
Sure,
bubble, they may think, oh, wow, that's cool because it's going to get more exposure because it's an exclusive listing. They may not even truly understand the definition of what that is. At the end of the day, if you're wanting to sell your home, you want to market that to the masses that you can. However many people that you can get it to, in my opinion, is your best option because it allows you.
It creates
more
competition.
Correct.
Right.
And competition fuels the people that want something that maybe can't have it. Right.
Well, and that's something that I always used to add to my listing presentation was the term, they would tell me they would want X number of dollars for their house. I would bring my materials with me. And then I would say, honestly, Mr. Customer, your house is worth as much as someone's willing to pay.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is make sure we get as many eyeballs on it as possible, because if this is the perfect location in the perfect city on the perfect block for the perfect person, it's worth more to that person than why would you want to take it off of the table for them?
Well, look at it too, like a house that needs a lot of updates. Maybe that house can't go FHA or VA due to certain circumstances of the house.
Yep.
Well, when you're having that conversation with the seller,
right?
Hey, I understand you may not have the money to fix X, Y, and Z, but that could limit the amount of people that could purchase this home. You're kind of pigeonholing people in the same arena by not listing it nationwide.
Well, and that's the thing is there's always great ways to maneuver those conversations. So going back to that, I would always ask my clients, so, all right, go ahead and give me the list of loans that your property qualifies for. And that usually ended that conversation right there, because they would look at me like a monkey doing a math problem. Like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Well, great. Let me show you. Right. And then I would go through here's what it takes to qualify for this one. Let's walk around and check to make sure it qualifies. And then when it doesn't, and it only qualifies for 2 out of the 5 kinds of loans out there,
You shrink your clients.
now you take what you're going to price it for right off the table, and we're going to go, okay, we have to be strategic about this, right?
Correct.
So the point of this conversation is for us to share that there's a difference. There's a difference between being prepared and being knowledgeable and the Zillow warriors out there that know everything when you show up, right? And I think that that's something that needs to be brought up. I don't think the general public knows that. When they bring an agent on board for a conversation, they don't know what they don't know.
Exactly.
And
shame on us for not every agent is explaining that, right?
Correct.
There's a lot of people in
Correct.
our industry that are the bad apples.
Correct.
That make us all look bad.
Right.
Essentially as a whole.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's, and it's incredibly important. So lastly, looking beyond the agent and broker's benefits, what are the potential financial and strategic consequences for a seller when their property is marketed privately instead of being immediately exposed? I think you kind of touched on that, but going forward, because I think listings are going to be what helps people last in real estate. That's what Gary Keller says, right? If you want to be successful, listings are where it's at. So moving forward, what are you guys focused on the listing side of the business? And are you educating your people on what that looks like to move forward into the future? Or is that something that maybe you guys are taking on yourself to protect your company?
Well, I think that's one thing. And again, I'm going to sound biased because I'm team lead, right?
Right.
But I think that's one thing that really sets us apart from other teams.
Okay.
Is we don't take listings from our agents. We let our agents list their own listings and we train them how to do it. So I think that's one thing that sets us apart as a team, so to say. But in the market we're in, that's another discussion to be had with the seller. Like if we're already seeing homes sitting on the market for 3 to 6 months, why would you want to reduce it even more by making an exclusive listing where you have even less people seeing it,
right?
Where it may sit for 9 months, right? But to me, that just doesn't make sense.
Yep, I agree. What about you?
Yeah, piggyback him. I mean, at the end of the day, we try to train all of our agents to get their listings. And normally for a new agent, listings. So you kind of build that rapport off your buyers. In 2 to 3 years, you got a good relationship with those past buyers. They turn into listings. And that's where you naturally get your listings. It's hard for a newer agent to go out there and cold call and expired and get all those listings right off the bat. We know that. So we try to help them with their buyer side first to build their pipeline to create listings for the future. I think a lot of agents want to be listing agents day one they get in.
Right.
And we all want to be,
Yeah.
but there are some that do it and can do it, but it's a lot of grind and a lot of phone calls and a lot of rejections. Instead of why not build your clientele and your database to build your listings for them.
So what's your opinion on the market as far as the corporate side? In other words, our side, what are you seeing with agents that are out there right now that are trying to do this? If you could grab somebody that's thinking about getting the real estate license or just got the real estate license, like what would be the top 3 things that you would tell somebody to do right off the bat? If I just got my license and I'm looking for a place, regardless of the company, as an agent, what would you suggest that people do to get not the fastest start and make the most money, but to be the most successful long-term?
Number 1, answer your phone, whether spam call or not. Answer every phone calls that come to you. You're a realtor now, so you're hopefully advertising it. So you don't know everyone that's going to call you. So number 1 thing is answer every phone call or call it back. Number 2 is get in front of anybody and everybody you can. Have those real estate conversations. Talk. I mean, it's not just telling them, hey, every day, buy, sell, buy, and you're going to buy, sell, or talk to your friends and family.
Right.
But just bring up certain conversations like, hey, what do you think the market's doing? Just bringing in the conversations into the public at all times.
Because that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that people with real estate license, especially the newer group, they're the best kept secret.
Yeah, they're
on the planet. They have like very few people know what they do, and that's interesting. So, what's your thoughts on that? The new agent that just got their license, not picking a brokerage, but if you were the elder and you're telling them, hey, look, here's the first 3 things I would do to make sure that you're going to be successful doing this. What are those 3 things?
Piggybacking Sam, get in front of every single person that you can as quickly as you can. So if you have someone that wants to see a property, you get in front of them same day or next day.
Right.
I don't care about their pre-qualification. I don't care if they're working with another agent. I don't care if they filed bankruptcy yesterday. I'm getting in front of someone as quickly as I can because every single person is an opportunity, and that opportunity will grow as you get in front of them. Number 2, you're honing your craft, right? Like a sport, you're practicing.
Mm-hmm.
The more you practice, the better you get at it. So the more people you get in front of, the better you hone your craft. and learn your product knowledge. That's answering your phone is important, obviously, but get in front of every single person, deep dive into the product knowledge of construction itself so that when you're in this home, you can pinpoint those things
Correct.
and have conversations with people. That's all you need to do.
So tactical conversations that are educated. In other words, that's something that I've noticed that a lot of new agents that I interview 90 days, 120 days into their business, they haven't sat down and having a true blood conversation with a mortgage broker to understand how loans work. They haven't talked to a title company to understand what it means if there's a clouded title or what they even do and what it takes, because you're not the only person involved in the transaction. It's a team of people, right? Sam and I are competitors until the second the contract is signed. Now we're teammates.
Yeah.
A lot of people think it's them versus us, when as soon as that contract buyer and seller sell or sign, we're teammates now. We're responsible for getting this to this finish line.
Correct.
What we're finding is that one of the two are usually the stronger of the two, and they piggyback the other person all the way to the finish line. I'm okay with us being the better agent. It's unfortunate, but that seems to be the case, that we're usually the better agent because we educate our people and we prepare them. So what is your view? And then we'll wrap this up. We know where the current state of the union is. We know the political side. We know the economic side. What do you see a year from now in real estate?
Well, that's kind of a loaded question, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of that is going to hinge on this war talk, right? Anytime there's war discussed,
Right.
people hit the pause button,
Right.
right? If we can get past that, at the end of the day, you always need to buy and sell, right? People are still having babies and there's death going on, divorce and people moving and relocating and all of that. So yes, there will always be homes that need to be bought and sold, but I think there's a lot of people sitting on the sidelines waiting for these rates to at least soften. And I know they went up a tick a week ago, but until we can get over that hurdle, I think it's still kind of be hit or miss. And we're seeing little pockets where things will get really busy for a couple weeks and slow down. So I think it's going to continue to be that way until we can get over this next hurdle, personally.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think for us as agents, we'll probably be using AI a little bit more or less, I think.
Right.
I think we need to learn to use it the right way. I think some agents are piggybacking on it way too much and trying to get them to answer all their questions and not having that personal touch, which I think hopefully in a year we'll get back to where agents are realizing it's the personal touch. We still need to have human reaction, not just all AI. So I think that's going to slow down probably in the next year. I would think kind of level out where it becomes, yes, a force for our real estate needs, but used in the correct way. Right now, it's the wild, wild west out there with it, and everyone has the best ideas for it. And some the way it should be intended to used, and they're using it for all the personal relationships. I think it's going to hurt their business in the long.
Which is funny because AI needs to be trained. You don't open AI and it's like a 2-year-old. You've got to nurture that 2-year-old to groom it to what is helpful and right for you. A lot of people open it up, and when they open it up and try to use it for real estate, they're using it wrong. They're getting wrong information. It's a glorified Google at that point, and that's not what the AI industry is about. The AI industry is about creating, I've been working on mine for 2.5 years. I can hear her breathe on the other end now, right? Or she asks me rhetorical questions. Is that what you're looking for? Or is this what you mean type thing? The problem with using AI and a lot of what's being taught out there in our industry is wrong because the people teaching it don't know how to use it. So you're right. I think it's a fad right now. I think it's a valid value add to our industry if it's used right and if it's packaged right, right? So back in the day, a computer was the size of this room. And now we hold it in our hand, right? And I think AI is going to be the same thing. It's this big, giant thing right now that kind of gets you where you need to go. And then eventually it's going to be pinpointed to where it's going to be almost an extension of the person using it.
Yeah, use it for your business.
Yeah. It's not replacing agents, though.
Well,
it'll never replace the human aspect of it and the soft skills, eye contact, voice inflection, and body language. That's a thing.
Absolutely.
That is an attraction thing before you even open your mouth.
And that's why real estate will always be a relationship-based thing, because you have to have that person
Right.
that can, again, quarterback your deal in multiple facets of dealing with you personally, whatever situation you're in, but
Right.
also dealing with this one over here and that one over there. And AI can do that to a certain aspect, but it can't bring the relationship into it.
What's
like
the old
a person
saying?
can.
Bedside manner for doctors,
Yeah.
right? If a doctor comes in and has terrible bedside manner, it doesn't matter how good a doctor he is.
Correct.
You're not going to like him because he's mean or he doesn't connect with you. Real estate is exactly the same thing. We're handling probably the second largest expense in your life next to a child, long term, long term, right? So,
Wives, right?
yeah, depends on how many you've had. Is that you have to take that serious. You have to have great bedside manner as an agent, which means empathy, kindness, knowledge, connection. All of the stuff has to be a part of that. And I think everybody they fast forward that. The bad thing and the good thing, right? The good thing about real estate is anybody can get licensed. It allows everybody an equal chance to get licensed. The bad thing is everybody can get licensed.
Exactly.
And so for me, I've always thought, and I don't know what the opinion is. I'll be interested to see. I wish they would make real estate $10,000 a year to be a realtor. Why? Because that would eliminate 95% of the agents out there.
Hence why last year, 75% of licensed agents didn't even sell a home, right?
Yep.
Because everyone has a real estate license, but it's not they're not a full-time agent.
Well, 200,000 agents from 2025, January 2025 to now, there's been a reduction of 200,000 agents nationwide that didn't renew their license.
And we don't even notice that because there's so many.
And there's so many, right? And that brings us back to our market. A lot of people say, a down market. There is no such thing as a down market. It's either a buyer's market or a seller's market. Now, the total volume may be down, but you're only got 30% of the agents doing the business anyway.
Correct.
So it's not down for them. There's not enough agents to do all the business.
Hence why we're still busy.
Right. Exactly. So don't let the public and the media tell you that it's not busy. It's as busy as you can make it. We're going to do 1,200 transactions out of this office this year, right? The number 2 brokerage 6 blocks down the road is going to do 500.
Well, our team as 65 agents as a whole is going to do 500 deals this year.
So there's no lack of business. There's lack of talent and lack of knowledge and ability.
Maybe they
out there.
It's all mindset.
Yeah, 100%.
The biggest problem is realize that, whatever is going on in the world, again, like you said earlier, everyone is still buying and selling homes.
Right.
And it's realizing that I don't give a crap about what's going on around me. All I give a crap about is getting in front of as many people as I can and building a relationship with those people.
Right.
Because at some point in time, whether it be today or tomorrow, they're going to use me
right
for that purchase.
I love what you said a while ago. Pick up the spam calls because guess what? Those people have houses too. And you can get a referral no matter where they are.
I picked up plenty of spam calls and some of them are investors like, well, you're the first one to call me back or give me an answer. So you list their house, right? They have houses around here. They need a list, but they're considered spam because someone spammed them. But yeah, just pick up your phone. What's the worst they can do is, it's a salesperson. Hang up on them, right?
Even if it's a spam call, they have a house. And now I've got permission to grill you on, hey, where do you live? Do you have a house? Do you own? Do you rent?
Flip the script.
Flip the script real quick. And you never know. You get 1 out of 20 of those people go, yeah, we're looking to move. Okay, great. I can help you with that.
Maybe go back to
what a success story that would be. That would be awesome.
That's the education we should get before we become realtors. Right? Maybe we should make the education, like you're saying, harder instead of maybe making the bills more every year. Maybe we should make the education harder or cost more to get into the industry.
Correct.
Kind of like, even just to be, a medical assistant or LPN, they have to go through, a year or 2 of training and it costs a lot of money to do that.
It's $25,000 to be a medical assistant. It takes roughly 24 months to do it.
Yeah. So they have to do, why shouldn't we have some kind of training for our profession? You're an attorney. We're professionals. Why shouldn't we have some kind of training? A little more in depth or maybe a little more costing.
Well, I just spoke to a young lady downstairs just an hour ago that just got licensed. And I asked her about her past and how she arrived at real estate. So she's got extensive phone room training because she went to work for Disney right out of college. She couldn't step foot on the premises until after her 7-week training.
Has to be minimum wage.
7 weeks of training, all the way down to how to make eye contact with a park goer, the 5-foot rule. If somebody comes within 5 foot of you, you acknowledge their presence, how to walk, how to approach people, how to leave an interaction. All of that stuff is taught to work at Disney.
Yeah.
And we have none of that to work with people that are potentially listing $1 million plus homes.
Crazy, isn't it?
And we don't even talk about that. Now we're instituting that here in our office slowly but surely. But it's funny the pushback we get from people talking about soft skills training. Why would I go to that? Like, you're going to that because you're lacking that. That's why we're talking about it. Like, if you're getting that message, it's probably because you need it. Not everybody does, but there's a thing, and that'll make you more money than any marketing tool, any social media site, any lead generation program. It's just being likable.
And we train on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's important. So I know you guys are off to a great year. We're past halfway now, and we're on to the second. And what's the number one thing you guys are going to focus on for the rest of the year to put a button on it and have a successful year?
Just training our agents, leveling them up to the next level.
True goal.
Whether you're level 1 or level 10, right? We want to break you out and level you up through the thing. We actually came up with a new training form.
Okay.
It's called the Level Up program.
Okay.
We started next week on Wednesday. So we categorized all of our agents in different levels, right?
Okay.
1, 2, and 3. And we have specific training to those levels so that we're not making it mandatory that a level 3 agent is sitting in a level 1 training that doesn't really pertain to them.
Okay.
So it's very specific training to their current capabilities and techniques to get them even better and move them up the ladder.
Okay. Sounds good. And we appreciate the time, and we will do this again. So this is going to be a new series. We haven't named it yet, but we're going to. And it's going to be basically your go-to place for everything real estate from both sides of the table. In other words, our side, the professional side, as well as the public side, and how we can work together, better together to make the experience better, because I think that the public deserves that. And I think the agents deserve to be treated better, not their fault, because there's been such a lack of talent out there in the past that set the example for the rest of us. But we're on a mission to make that better, make it a better experience. And there's going to be a difference with when you deal with our agents versus everybody else. So we appreciate the time, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.